products and how we fell on, doing the rye gin as well. And now we just finished an expansion. We're actually starting 24-hour production starting this Sunday. So that's a really neat thing. You guys have any questions?
Which one do you want to start with? You want to start with the cask or just the?
Let's start with musician first, and then go into the cask. If you guys wanted to, as I'm talking about the two, we can do a side by side so you can really taste the differences of the two.
We might not have enough glasses to do it, so we'll see.
Okay, that's fine. We can just do one at a time.
Cool. Ooh, heavy-handed over here. Yes. We want him to pour. Y'all want to grab a glass? I told you I have 3. Might have to 15 wash out. Hello. Sir. You go, guys. Yes. Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Just
Fishing. There's also water here if you want to grab water. So everybody have one? Grab one of these guys. Yeah. And we'll have to watch out and do the cast train. Oh, the glass did. Yeah, the glass. He's waiting for us. He's waiting for us. Grab a seat, couch.
That's the idea. Just like, I think it was maybe just
Sweet. I think we all have a glass now.
All right. Okay, so a little bit about the musician, like I was saying, it's 70% white corn, 25% rye, 5% malted barley. It's distilled off of a column still. We have a 42-foot continuous column still. It's, as far as like columns go, it's a very unique. It's a one-of-one design. It can make an extremely clean product. We have extra rectifying trays off this column, and we also have the ability to take a continuous heads cut, which really I believe that it helps reduce the impurities that are going into the product, where you're just able to let the barrel do its work and not have to like buff anything out really. So once we're done distilling and we are barreling it, the barrel entry proof's 118. We use independent stave barrels, their standard 6-month air season barrel with a char 3. And then it's aged for about 2.5 years. And really, like our claim to, like one of our huge trademarks, like we practice, it's called élevage, and it's an old technique or practice. And Nancy Fraley, our master blender, came from a cognac background and learned this in France, working with cognac. And really the term is raising your barrels from birth to maturity, just like how you're raising a child. You're just, super careful with every single step that you're doing. And one of the most important processes in it is when you're getting close to slow water reduction. So what we do, we open up every single barrel of the musician, and we proof it down a couple proof points per month. And what that is helping us do is, one, from a a risk of having off flavors. It's reducing saponification, which essentially is the water and the alcohol just can't bind properly if you're proofing it down too fast. Um, so, and that can result in, you know, like a flat soda taste or like soapy water. So that's just a plus that we're taking it down nice and slowly and we're reducing that risk. But on top of that, when we're reducing it down, it's about a 4 to 6 month process. From 114 to like 125 proof, you're really getting more alcohol soluble sugars, a lot more wood forward notes. You know, so if it's always just sitting at 118 proof, you're never really able to dive into the water soluble sugars that are from 114 really below. So that's where you get like all those sweeter characteristics that you're looking for, like caramel, coffee, and vanilla, and all those kind of things. So, and we let it sit there for about a month per proof down. So once we do that, we usually stop it right around 102 and 104 proof. Send those samples to Nancy. Nancy gets them, and they're all 20-barrel blends at the moment for the musician. And the bottle proof is 98.4 proof. A little bit of tasting notes that I get off the musician, and really a lot of other products. I find it's very fruit forward, a lot of tropical fruit, pineapples and banana. I get marshmallow, caramelized marshmallow. I get some nutty flavors like almonds, and some cinnamon, and then the rye spice comes through, and it's a nice long finish, and you get that toffee and the caramel at the end as well. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I like it. Yes, we're a good fan.
And it's considered a high rye bourbon. So anything over 21% rye in the mash bill is considered a high rye bourbon. You know, so we wanted to do something that was a little different. You know, I've always said, if you try to copy the big guys, you're already losing that battle. You don't want to copy them. You want to do something that's going to separate you from them and stand out as a craft distillery. So using that white corn is definitely different, and just having that little bit of an extra higher rye content, I think really stands out. What are you guys tasting as far as tasting notes?
So I've had this before. I'm changing it here. Literally, when I pop it open, the first thing I smell both times is green apple. I don't know why. Just
Nice.
that's what I've got.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like the food has to do with the barrels too, but also, like it sometimes, you know, so there's certain like pHs that you can ferment at, and there's obviously like a tipping point where you don't want to go too high, but from what I've learned, just a slightly higher pH while you're fermenting will get some of those fruit forward notes out of the fermentation. And personally, I really like that, and I've heard a lot of people really like it too. So I think that also plays a contribution into those fruit forward notes, how we do our fermentations and whatnot. What do you guys think about the proof? It being at 98.4 proof.
I think that's perfect. Yeah.
The reasoning behind the proof, you know, or a higher proof in general, but you know, for all intents and purposes, just proof. I really wanted to make it to where, you know, when we weren't really thinking about a cash strength at this time, but for an approachable flagship, one for someone that wants to drink it neat, it's very approachable, just having it neat. But if you wanted to, you know, have an ice cube with it, you're not going to bring the proof down and say, like, you know, say an 80 proof bourbon, you put a cube in it, it's almost like you're drinking water.
Yeah.
Versus a bit of like a higher proof bourbon, if you put a cube in it, like this, you're still going to, get all those notes that you're looking for. It's not just going to be completely lost. And also with it being in a cocktail at a lower proof, I find that the cocktail kind of loses the bourbon sometimes. So if you're able to have a higher proof bourbon, I think it's like good for it to be versatile in other ways. And going off of that with the cash strength makes it even that much more versatile. If you're into that kind of higher proof product, which we can get into whenever you guys are ready, or if you have any other questions about the musician.
Yeah, I want this water, rinse it before we pass it.
Got some cups over here. Fill your glass and $4 for water.
So is the plan to just continue to make the musician at a 2.5 year, or are you going to start doing like older years of it?
So the goal is to definitely release older stuff in the future. I have our oldest stock that we haven't touched, and we're getting ready. We will get ready. It may not be this year, but in 23 for a bottled and bond, and that will be like very limited. But that will at least be a full year. But naturally, as we are producing, a large amount, we're hoping that we're going to have a stock to where we're going to be able to age it further and further and further. Yeah, we want 2.5 years old really just to be like the start of it, and then eventually get into those older ages. Honestly, it's been really hard to keep a stock with how much it's been selling and just kind of burning through the stock. But the 24-hour production is really going to help us out.
We're out the cast strength now.
All right, awesome.
Distribute. I'm just gonna take it out. Gary, that's a cash strength. Report two. Just a touch. That's good. Whatever happens. I think we're all ready now.
Dive into it. All right, so the cash strength, same exact mash bill as the musician, 70 white corn, 25 rye, 5 barley, distilled the exact same way, and barreled at 118 proof. And essentially what we did, we were really trying to pick out, so when we grade barrels, whenever we're blending, we grade them in an A, B, C grade. It's like a pyramid. A being, you're getting all those fruits that you want, you're getting food characteristics from the corn, you're getting all the rye spice, A, it's a great barrel. B, say you're maybe missing some of that fruit, but it's still a really good barrel, so we'll label it a B. And the C barrel is something where, it can be on that top row and it's just really hot and it's really spicy, but you have to use all your barrels. So out of the 20 barrel blend, you might throw in 1 C for every 20 barrel blend. But for the cash strength, what we've really tried to do is only pick A and B barrels. So it'd be like a little more selective with how we pick them. And really, I mean, it's just 118 proof with A and B barrels, and they're all 20 barrel blends. The cash strength is definitely a more deeper, darker, robust product. I still get fruits, but not as sweet fruits like blackberries or like covered cherries. I get some fig, mint, dark brown sugar, nutmeg, clove from that rye spice. Um, and once again, for you guys being like real whiskey aficionados, having a cask strength where you can have like an old fashioned with a cask strength, or if you wanted to put it on the rocks, it really shines through, and it doesn't deteriorate whenever you're making a cocktail or putting it on the rocks, or even if you want to have it neat. So once again, it's a very valid product, but I would say more for like the whiskey aficionado fan base. But it's had really good reception all around as well. You guys can obviously taste the difference.
Oh yeah. It's way deeper.
Now, what do you guys say that you like? Would you like more?
I was shocked because it's like lighter on the nose.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible. Honestly, I was always shocked with, I always think cash strength and I think hop, and it's just smooth drinker. Like it still blows my mind every single time I have it. You guys getting like those darker tasting notes as well?
Definitely getting some caramel and butterscotch.
Got some molasses in there.
Yeah, some molasses. Yeah, very nice. Which one would you prefer if you had to have a go-to?
I'd go with the cask.
So
Yeah.
I go with the cast also.
I walked in late. Did we go through that they're really both cast strength because of the élevage treatment?
Yeah. Well, so what do you mean by that?
Well, okay. Since you do slow water reduction, élevage, so to say, Nancy Fraley method, they don't. It's bottle strength in the cask when they bottle.
Yeah.
All of them are cask strength. So say they just stop adding water to this one and let it age more.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. But yeah, for it to be considered cash strength, technically, you cannot touch it. It's just a blend of barrels. You can't proof it down. You can't do anything with it. That's it. It's complete raw form.
One of the things that I like so much about Still Austin is that they do that method where most places will just dump all the barrels, then dump water in it and bottle, well, let it sit, of course, but then bottle it up. Where they do it actually in the cask itself, slowly adding water as water evaporates. And I'm a giant believer of that method as well. I think it's great. I think it's great spirit.
I mean, when I first started, I worked at a distillery before in New York, before this one, and you just don't have that information. You have to get lucky, and you have to, meet Nancy, and she's got to want to work with you. But that kind of information is just not out. So when I worked at Black Dirt, it was a very good product. But we made our blends, we dumped them, and we proofed it down, and it was a really good product. But I come here and I have Nancy telling me this whole entire technique, and it's it's a 6-month process, and I'm like, man, this really has to be worth it. And she had a side-by-side of something that was proofed down immediately, and then a slow water reduction, 2 controls. I mean, it was so clear how the difference of the two. And now tasting that, I just really wish, I always say, it's never a secret that we do that kind of stuff, because in the craft world, you want everyone to be making really great products, and a lot of people are. But you're almost, you're jeopardizing at the last point of the puzzle. It's like you made such a good product and you bottled it and just proofed it down, and you don't know about this process. And I've always said too, if you don't have the labor to do it, or the space, or whatever, if you just don't want to do the slow water reduction in the barrel, you should at least be doing slow water reduction in a tank after you do your blends. Where that's just like the bare minimum. You do your blend, say it's at 118 proof, and maybe you proof it down once a week. instead of once a month or something. Some sort of fashion of slow water reduction could always be used. Period. As far as I'm concerned, except for obviously if you're doing cash strength. We do it with our gin, in tank, real slow. Gin comes off at like 155 proof, and we reduce it all the way down nice and slowly in tank to 90 to bottle proof. Yeah, it's a big staple for us. But it's funny sometimes when it's like the labor that's involved into it, and then you're tasting everybody, you're like, so which one's your favorite? It's like, oh, cash strength. I'm like, oh, cool. The one that's just barrel pulls, barrel samples, and that's it. And I think personally too, like I'm leaning towards the cash strength too as my favorite. And I just like secretly always, I'm like really wanting to always say the musician's my favorite because I know the amount of work that goes into it, but I can see it both ways. But yeah, that's the slow water reduction deal.
Their gin is actually I was a gin person years ago and got off of it completely, Tanqueray Bombay got. And it wasn't until I was at their place a couple of years ago that I was given the gin to realize how botanical they are now. And the flavors are just amazing. And theirs is one of the grand ones to get. Are you doing any barrel aging with the gin?
I have experimented a little bit with it, and honestly, I kind of just let it go. I do want to do it again. I was actually just talking to the guys about this yesterday about actually giving a fair shot. I have a barrel aged gin. It's 2.5, 3 years old, just sitting in a barrel. I wasn't too thrilled with it, so I'm like, we'll just keep it going. It was never really it wasn't really a goal for us to do a barrel aged gin, but I think we might be missing the mark on it by not actually giving it a shot. So I think we'll do it. We've just had our gin demand is so high to where plugging away a couple barrels takes away a lot of production for the gin that we need right now. So I have to keep building up a surplus, and then once I have enough, I can try to dive into that a little bit and see what's up in that world. I am very curious though to give it a shot.
I do have a bit of a treat for the guys here. I brought the Monster Mash for them to try.
All right. Right on. Which one?
Well, I just came in. Actually, I came into some people that aren't too happy with you right now because I was down at Ranger Creek today with Josh and your new employee because you stole his apprentice. And he starts next week working for you all. But so
yes,
they come out with a specialty every now and then, and this is the second release. I don't have any. I never got the first release, but it's. I'll let him talk just a bit real quick before he has to leave on what this is, and y'all are welcome to come over to have a tasting of it.
I'm sorry. So you said that was the.
This is the second release.
Awesome, right on. That's my favorite release we've ever done. Okay, so the Monster Mash. Monster Mash is a pretty funny story. So we were doing a couple different mash bills for some contract work, and I had 5 different super sacks in the back of the distillery. Super sacks are just large bags of grain. And there was really no purpose for them. I didn't know what to do with them. They were taking up a lot of room. And it was white corn in a super sack. It was wheat, raw rye, malted rye, and barley. So I did the percentages of what I thought it would be, and I'm like, okay, this makes enough sense. Let's just throw it in the cooker and let's just do what we get. So it is the mash bill. It's such a wonky mash bill, but it's really close to this. It's 67% white corn, 17% wheat, 10% rye, 8% malted rye, and 2% malted barley, so somewhere right around there. And really, it was just, just throw into the cooker and let's see what we get. And it turned into, we released the 2-year and people loved it. And I only had 6 barrels of it. So the one that you're tasting right now is the 3-year, and then next October will be the 4-year, and that's it, of that series. And the monster continuously evolves on the label. I'll pull out the 2-year so you guys can see it, the difference in the label. But then what I did, and the team, we wanted to continue this tradition every October, releasing something, and let the monster live on. So we did a malted monster mash. So I malted the white corn, the wheat. I left the raw rye portion of it the same. Kept the malted rye and then the barley. And then we had a bunch of different super sacks laying around, and we just threw it into the cooker again. And that's a totally different mash bill, but that would be like version 2 of the mash bill. So we'll have plenty of monster mash for the upcoming years, but I'll get that preview label so you guys can see it. So this was the label. It's 2-year. Then you can. You guys have the label. Do you guys have that bottle in front of you?
Yeah, ours is green. It's green.
So he's at a carnival.
Or light blue, I guess.
Yeah, maybe blue.
Turquoise. There we go. Turquoise.
Oh.
For every reserve series that we do, we always use it. For the Monster Mash, it's the same local Austin artist, but say for like a new release, we always find a new local Austin artist to do our labels. I'll share with you. Hold on, just so you can see some of the artwork. For the 2 barrel finishes that we did, one was a sherry and one was a cognac. Every single bottle was individually hand painted, like abstract art. So every single label was slightly different.
Wow.
And this was the 100% rye sherry finish, and then the 100% rye cognac finish. Every single label was hand spray painted.
Oh my God.
So every single one looked a little different. And then Zuzu was the artist. So
That's super cool.
the Reserve Series is a lot of fun. Really able to just have a lot of fun with it. Just try to do things really different. What do you guys think about the Monster Mash?
Totally different.
Totally different?
Totally different, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, right?
For sure.
I like our agree.
It's weird. It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid. Yeah, it's a little weird.
I believe that one is in the 107 or 108 proof range.
Yeah,
With the,
106.
I'm sorry?
I think it's 106. My eyes are too old.
106.
106.
I can't hold it far enough away.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's 106.
So whenever we do the Reserve Series, we still do slow water reduction. So this one was barreled at 115 proof because it had wheat in it. So wheat's a little bit of a softer grain. So typically you would want to barrel it at 114 proof for all wheats. But it had some rye in it, so we decided to do it at 115. But once we thought it was nearly ready, started doing slow water reduction, and then eventually, where it gets to the point where it's just not going to get any better. That's when we just stop it. So every single Reserve Series is different, where we'll bring it down, and eventually you're tasting it weekly almost, and you're like, well, it didn't really get any better from 107 to 108. So just call it. You don't want to bring it down too much. I think if doing it at cat strength for the reserve series, a lot of really want to shine through it. And I think that was only like 300 something bottle release, very limited, only 2 barrels.
If y'all sign up on their website and get alerts and such, you can try to get into lotteries they do for those, a lot of that specialty stuff. It's sort of hard to get down to Austin, stand in line.
Yeah, it's called the Order of Nancy. You know, you get, you're the first people to find out about the launches, the releases, trying to get on that list, getting that lottery system.
Does anybody here carry the reserve stuff?
No.
I don't think so.
Just the musician.
Yeah. I don't even think the cash drink is here.
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
yeah.
I've never seen it.
Now, if enough people ask for it, they might be able to get it.
And that is true. The more you go into liquor stores and ask for things, they do keep notes on that, and then they bug their distributors, who then try to bring it in.
And we do liquor runs a lot. And you
Yeah.
can tell by the texting, so I guess if you really have your eye on something, we can let people know when we do.
The plug.
You guys have any questions regarding anything that we tasted about the distillery or anything in general, anything at all?
We really appreciate your time to help us out, getting something going out here in West Texas and trying to talk to get a lot more distributor from the other Texas distilleries out here.
Oh yeah, no, and we really appreciate all your guys' support and taking the time to go through a tasting, and I also really appreciate you guys coming in a little early. I know it was set for 7, but coming in at 5:30, I really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're a small enough town, there's not a long drive and mess with traffic. I was in San Antonio today, that was my problem.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to sign off.
Sweet. Feeling good? Sweet. Thanks, John. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey,
All right.
good.
You have a good
Look
one.
forward to doing it again.
Yeah,
All right. You
absolutely.
guys have a good one.
Bye.